Hello.
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 Hi there.
Hello and welcome to the radiotimes.com Doctor Who podcast. My name's Hugh Fullerton. This week I'm joined by Patrick Cremona.
Hello.
In place of Morgan Jeffrey, who is off travelling through time and space, / on another assignment. And this week we are reviewing Praxeus, which is episode 6 of series 12 of Doctor Who. So first things first, we've got to say episode 5 was a pretty big episode, right?
Of course, yeah. Gonna be a tough act to follow.
Tough act to follow. So just, you've seen the episode now, there's not a lot of big archy stuff in this episode.
There's not. It kind of just throws it to the wayside completely, which was an interesting move.
It was interesting. I mean, I kind of thought it would do this. I didn't realise it would, to this extent, ignore it.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a bit of a connection at the end of Fugitive of Judoon. The Doctor says, oh, here's these emergencies, let's go and check them out. But in this, she did take the time to change her outfit, which was funny. It's a sort of self-contained story. The gang are all over the world trying to stop a deadly pathogen, which involves microplastics and the like. That's it. So there's no more chat about the other Doctor, about, the Timeless Child, the Master, Ruth, any of that. We'll just ignore that for this week. None of that's going on.
I think it's kind of fine in a sense to do that. We don't want to get too bogged down in that kind of central.
You need these self-contained
a bit
episodes.
Of respite. But yeah, I think we were maybe looking for just a throwaway comment or just a reference to what happened last week. It's when it was as momentous and has had such a big reaction from the fans.
I think so. Also, I do feel like when Doctor Who has about 3 arcs at the moment, because it's got who's this new Doctor, what's the Timeless Child, and this new lone Cyberman thing. It's only got 4 episodes after this, and it's kind of like there's a lot to do. I'm not sure if they can quite afford to have episodes that are completely, completely
especially
standalone.
are we not expecting another standalone to come as well?
Probably. I don't know. We expected Fugitive of Judoon would be fairly standalone.
Yeah, well, there we go.
So you never know, do you?
Yeah.
Anyway, we should talk about this episode, though, which is Praxeus, which is written by Pete McTee, who wrote Kablam in the last series, and Chris Chibnall. And basically, the story is we don't see the Doctor and crew for a while. It's a bit the Nikola Tesla episode.
Lots of introductions to various different segments.
Yeah, and it's quite fun. I quite enjoyed that opening. I think the first person we actually see from the main cast is Ryan. We sort of meet all these other people. Yeah. It's in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
it's in Madagascar,
all far
Peru,
corners of the world.
Yeah, space. There's all sorts going on. And basically it's the Doctor and her 3 companions and about 5 extra characters rushing around the world trying to sort of find out why people are being infected by this strange virus, which is connected to plastics in the ocean.
Yeah, and also why the birds have kind of become almost Alfred Hitchcockian, the birds kind of thing, where they're all kind of flying towards people and it's not quite right, definitely.
Yeah, so this is kind of a big mystery episode, right? It's like, what's going on? What's the story? All that stuff. And we should say, this is pretty early on. I mean, we've had some mixed reactions in the office this week. Morgan, who, as I said, can't be here, absolutely loved the episode. He said it was his favourite this year. I'm kind of more ambivalent, I quite enjoyed the first half. I quite enjoyed the conceit of having the companions in different places, splitting them up. I thought there was some fun character stuff. Ryan had a bit more to do. I liked the bit with Graham, not looking through the wrong wall and switching around.
Yeah.
Thought it was quite fun. I kind of liked, them rushing around, I liked the pace of it. But I just kind of felt like it just sort of, for me, didn't really land it. But I thought the conclusion was a bit sort of a shrug. And I felt like there were so many things left unsolved.
Well, this is a thing, and there was so many characters as well, and that's a thing of going to so many different locations in the first half. You want it all to be tied up neatly, and you want everything to be going somewhere. And there was a lot of, especially I think there was one character, the vlogger character, I can't remember her name right now.
Oh, I'm going to look her up. The vlogger...
Was it Gabriella?
I think it was. Gabriella Camera, funnily enough.
Yeah. So she was built up to be, a fairly major part of the episode in the first half.
2 girls roaming.
Yeah. And very, very disgruntled that no one had heard of her vlog. And she kind of just almost disappeared into the background in the second half, which is always going to happen when you've got so many characters.
I mean, to be honest, we sort of oft... mentioned critique of this series is that you sometimes feel like they haven't got enough to do with 3 companions. The show usually had 1 companion and the Doctor plus the guest character, sometimes 2, but 3 is quite a lot. And the solution in this episode is to add 5 more.
Yeah, I think it's maybe in a sense, to give the different companions someone else to bounce off.
They have their own
so they all
companions.
have their own,
Yeah.
But then it just kind of becomes this
I think it works better in the first
situation.
half because, when they're all split up, once you bring them together, it's just a lot of people. To the extent that one of the characters, who I think his name was Aramu, he just dies. Like, he's just killed by birds and no one even notices. None of the characters, there's
not a lot of mourning in this episode, is there? Even quite a few people have, been,
and we find out that Suki was, an alien and she was, kind of responsible for this virus, but I don't really understand how was he her assistant? Was he also an alien? Was he human? How did she get that lab? How was it funded? It was all a bit strange. Also, the astronaut guy who I want to say is called Adam Lang.
Yes.
Why did the aliens have him? Why were they experimenting on him?
Yeah, that's never really explained.
Why specifically? Because it's not like he brought the disease in. Like, it was already on Earth, and he sort of vanished in space and then turned up. How did he text his husband? He texted his husband
from some kind of emergency number as well, by the looks of things.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, how's he doing?
Previously,
That's not really explained. It's not explained how they get him off. Why he's in Hong Kong? Like, it's because some of it, why is he in Hong Kong? Doesn't really matter. Whatever. That's where they are. But I genuinely don't understand why they needed him. I feel like maybe something's been lost in the edit there.
Yeah.
Although that might be, I might be speaking too far there. But yeah, I mean, I know that I feel like you said that you had a slightly more positive reaction to the episode than I did.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy it. I think it was good after the kind of frenzy of last week, where it was an event like last week. It was a proper must not. I think in some sense it was nice to have a slightly more grounded episode this week, where we maybe just get to see the companions and the Doctor going about a kind of another normal kind of assignment. If you get me. And I think there was good things in the episode. I think some of the supporting characters were pretty good. I quite enjoyed the astronaut and his husband or separated husband. We were never quite sure at some point. I think they were both. They both did pretty well with not that much to work with.
I think the difference between an episode like this and Orphan 55, which I think was definitely not as good as this, is there are similar things with that. Also had a lot of characters. I did feel this episode developed them better. I feel like I kind of knew them all a bit better. It's just there were so many, and when it's only a one-part episode, because Doctor Who's had big casts before, especially on those sort of like defend the base episodes or whatever. There's a reason those sort of episodes are usually two-parters, though. It gives you a bit longer to kind of get to know the characters. So you kind of spend the first episode getting to know the characters, and then the second episode where it kind of comes apart. And I mean, I don't know. I struggle to say whether this should have been a two-parter, but I feel like maybe they could have, after the initial bit, they probably could have dropped the vlogger, as you say.
Yeah.
And they possibly didn't need the scientist's sidekick. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I felt like there's some cuts there. I feel like if we're seeing that,
he was almost just a prop to be killed, really, in the end.
Yeah, but then no one
they didn't really do anything with.
So I don't really know why they killed him.
I guess maybe just to show how dangerous. I think birds flying towards someone is pretty scary.
That's true. It was a cool. I mean, the whole thing of don't let them scratch you. I did feel that a bit. I was like, oh yeah.
And it was genuinely quite unnerving watching them all. The manner in which they disintegrated.
Cool.
I thought that was really cool. I
like the sort of body horror element of this sort of weird thing. Sort of hard, sort of scaly thing creeping over your body. I felt that was quite sort of evocative. But I did sort of think as well, they sort of just, that happened to them and they died. I feel like maybe they could have had a little bit in between thing where they were kind of dangerous, the people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sort of just went and then they sort of just fix it.
Well, yeah, because that could have been quite scary if they'd gone rogue while they were kind of kind of morphing into this horrible, grotesque kind of figure that they did. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. But I don't want to sound like I'm completely down this episode, because I did enjoy bits of it. Like I said, especially the first half. That there were some funny jokes. I did think that it was a lot of good work for the companions. Actually, I thought they all had quite a lot to do. Possibly because, like you say, they had their own kind of people. And this series increasingly is better when they separate the Doctor from the companions. Yeah, it is. And we saw Yaz in particular was very determined to go off and do things on her own in this episode. She can volunteer to go back when they were in Hong Kong. Yeah, and then she was. Really disappointed, we saw later when she thought she'd discovered. I like that. There's a bit of character stuff there. I enjoyed that. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to like about it. I guess for me, it was just also, I liked that they acknowledged the Autons, right? Living plastic, all that stuff. I feel like if you're going to do an episode about plastics in the ocean and microplastics and how it affects wildlife, which is a really good issue for Doctor Who to be tackling. It's very current, it's very sciencey, and then be like, oh, they're controlling things through the plastic. I was like, oh, it was interesting. And then it's not the Autons. She sort of just throws away and says, oh, they don't work with pathogens. Do they not? Okay, we've decided they don't. But I feel like if you're going to do that story, I think it would have been better to bring in the Autons. Not because most people won't know who they are, right? It doesn't matter. They're, shop dummies that come to life. I feel like it would have been a cool modern twist on the Autons to have them involved with this microplastics thing, and they can control people through the plastics. We've inflicted it on ourselves through, our consumption and how, we have plastics in the oceans. I think that would have been quite a nice idea, rather than it's just sort of this vague disease, pathogen that happens to go through plastic.
Yeah.
When there is a Doctor Who monster,
and it could have been connected into the lore and into the
even just a
background,
bit. Like there's a bit in Waters of Mars where they talk about the Ice Warriors, and the Ice Warriors aren't the villains of that episode, but the Flood, which is the sort of thing that takes over people in that episode, is connected to the Ice Warriors. They sort of explicitly say this was frozen in the ice. It's there's an ancient race on Mars, blah blah blah. Like it's somewhat connected. Like they're not the same thing, but there's a suggestion that it interacts in some way. With this, it's like, I guess it's not related to that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, definitely. Yeah. It's interesting though. This is the second episode of this series which has had climate change related
I did think
message,
that, yeah. And there's similar-ish episodes as well.
Yeah, but I would say this was maybe slightly less on the nose about it.
I think this was more specific. This was about, like you say, it wasn't it was about plastic. The other thing was like broadly, climate change is
we're
bad.
all going to die. Yeah. Which is a good message to spread, but maybe could have been dealt with a bit more tact and a bit more
seeing
nuance.
this episode makes you realise how it could have been dealt with a bit more nuance, because it focuses on one specific thing. It's also funny because it was rumoured before this series that they were going to have, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor takes on, disposable plastics, and you sort of hear that and you sort of laugh. But in the episode, it makes sense. She's not sort of lecturing about it exactly in the same way.
No, we didn't have the look to camera
saying like, you might end up like this one day, bit like from Orphan 55.
But at the same time, it wasn't too subtle that you wouldn't pick up on it. It was woven into the story.
It was showing, not telling.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so mixed review here for Praxeus. I thought there was lots of love. I preferred Kablam, which was the one.
I enjoyed that last series as well.
But like I say, everyone has different opinions. Morgan sadly can't be here to defend it, but he absolutely loved Praxeus. I didn't hate it. I just want to say I do feel like after last week, maybe I was more in the mood for something a bit more similar.
And I think this is the thing where we've had 6 episodes of this series now. I'd say I've broadly liked 5 of them. I wasn't so on the side of Orphan 55. It's just the order seems a bit. It's kind of like having an album on shuffle. Like there doesn't seem to be that much of an order to them, and I think I felt like what's gone wrong in that.
If it were not for that scene at the end of Fugitive of Jadoon, where the Doctor says, "Let's go and check this out," this could fit anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, this could have been episode 3 instead of Orphan 55. This could have been episode 4. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't really tie in particularly. I mean, maybe they even. I do think they did change the order of the episodes in this series at some point. I'm not sure which ones they moved around.
Yeah.
But it's possible they could have just added that little bit at the end. Because it's just on the TARDIS set. They could have added a bit where they talk. Oh, let's go and check this thing out. But yeah, I kind of hope. The thing is, we're not saying it has to be massively, self-referential.
Well, no, and there's always standalone episodes, of course, and they're often very good standalone episodes.
But the Tesla episode was standalone, but there's a little nod to Gallifrey having been destroyed. Yeah. You kind of feel like it's an evolving story. It doesn't alienate people, sort of, no pun intended, but it does kind of keep the story going.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned before that we don't really see Jodie Whittaker's Doctor that affected by the events from last week.
No, she seems fine.
Yeah, exactly. You'd think she'd be more on edge or more angry or more something.
Even Orphan 55 had her a bit upset about something. And Orphan 55 had more arc to it than this. I mean, ultimately, you could say it was a little bit disposable. Oh, that's the message. This is the message. But yeah, that's Praxeus, episode 6. Next week, we're back to Earth, back to Sheffield for Can You Hear Me? Clem Fandango. No, that's my little edition. It's called Can You Hear Me? And that is by Charlene James, I believe, and Chris Chibnall. And it looks like another spooky one. We have Ian Gelder from Game of Thrones and His Dark Materials being a spooky guy and spooky things happening as they go back to Sheffield. We don't know much more than that.
Always like a bit of spookiness, though.
Everyone loves a bit of spooky.
Always promising.
Yeah, there's some scary bits in this episode, so hopefully that'll be a nice scary one. And yeah, hopefully Jodie Whittaker will remember that she had her entire backstory blown up the previous week at some point and look a bit sad.
It's just suddenly going to hit her halfway through the episode.
I completely forgot about that. God, I was so busy with all those birds in Peru. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Please do let us know in the comments what you thought of the episode, whether you agreed with us, disagreed with us. We kind of disagree with each other, so, either way, it's a win. One of us is right, definitely, definitively, and forever.
Yeah. Definitely me. No.
Yeah, definitely, Patrick. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.